Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Rain Whalen.
And I'm Marion Featherbottom.
It makes you sound like you are a lord or something.
Yeah, like some sort of like
you should
effeminate posh.
Like you should be in Bridgerton.
Yeah.
I've never seen it in a single episode.
Yeah, it's sort of like that, with the fluffy shirts and the puffy sleeves and never seen a second of that show either.
No, yeah. It does not interest me.
No, not in the slightest.
If I want to watch a show like that, I'll just watch Downton Abbey.
Sure.
Which is, takes...
Listen, man, Mom is so excited.
that they're making another movie?
I got an email the other day. And it said it was from Apple. And it was like, hey, your Apple ID was used to buy Downton Abbey A New Era. I was like, oh, gee, I wonder who that could have been. And so I called her. I go, you just couldn't go to the movies to see it? He goes, no, because I'm going to watch it over and over and over again. Are you stupid? And I was like, all right, relax. And so she's very excited.
So was Jon Favreau in Iron Man 3.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, welcome back, everyone. Before we really get into the show, I just want to give a quick little shout out to my wife. My wife has started her own podcast and has posted her first episode and gave us a shout out. So it's only fair that we do the same. So if you don't really care for listening to two guys talk about movies, my wife loves books and her podcast is about book recommendations, book reviews, kind of what we do, just the book version, I guess. But in my opinion, maybe a little bit more entertaining than us.
The literate version.
The literate version. So right now she's only on Spotify, but...
What's it called?
It is called The Broke Bookworm. So check it out. Tell her what you think. I showed her how to open up like Q&As, so... She'll probably always maybe have a Q&A every episode.
And it's like she's Parcast. She's a Spotify original.
Yeah.
A Spotify exclusive.
Pretty much.
That's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, people really like Spotify.
I know.
I've noticed.
But unfortunately, we're everywhere. Because I don't want to be just on Spotify. I want to be everywhere.
I understand.
Unless Spotify wants to pay us.
Oh.
Then we'll be a Spotify exclusive.
Sure. Yeah.
But
absolutely.
Until that day, we're going to be everywhere.
I'll take anybody's money. You just let me know what to say, and I will say it. I will.
He does not care.
I don't have any code of conduct. I will say anything. I will lean to whatever side you like. As long as I'm getting that Skrilla, we good to go. So keep that in mind. Criterion, A24. Keep that in mind for Spotify if you'd like. Generally, just anybody. Those are my tops.
He has a wedding to pay for.
Yes, I do. So, listen, Criterion, if for some reason you have a harsh stand on public execution and you want the word out, I'm your guy. Okay? So, just anything you want me to say, I'm on it.
This has derailed.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Immediately.
Point being, go check out her podcast. It's awesome. I help her edit it, so check it out. We'll put a link in the description for the YouTube video. For the audio, for our audio listeners out there, just open up Spotify, type in The Broke Bookworm, and there you go. So, back to the episode.
Okay.
So if you missed out on last week, today we are talking about Manchester by the Sea. A movie that is very unrelenting, in my opinion.
Sure.
I knew the subject matter. I knew that this was a drama. I knew kind of what I was about to get into, but God, it did not let up.
No.
At all.
No, there are very small, short moments of levity, and then it's just back to...
Yeah. Ashley was kind of half paying attention while I was watching it, and I was like, you want to know the irony of this? And she was like, what? It's like, this is my pick. Like, Jeremy didn't pick this movie. I picked this movie.
Yeah.
She was like, oof.
Oof magoof.
Yep, oof magoof. But that's not to say I didn't enjoy it.
Of course.
It was awesome. Great casting of Casey Affleck and Michelle Williams, and don't know the actor who plays his nephew.
Come on.
Sorry.
It's obviously... Don't
As he looks it up.
Nah, quit. Shush. Some people aren't watching this. Lucas Hedges.
Didn't he play...
And then Kyle Chandler, of course.
Didn't he play Honey Boy, the older version of Honey Boy?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, it was great. So, Jeremy, since this was my pick, I assumed then you'd already seen this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see it in theaters?
Yes.
Or what did you think first time viewing?
Didn't know much about it. I will with my buddy Kale. And
Shout out to Kale.
yeah, we found it. We really wanted to see it, and nobody was showing it, but we found it at the mall in Odessa.
Ah.
Yeah, their movie theater was showing it, and it was late. It was like a 10:30 something showing. We were the only people there in the theater, which was awesome because I'm gonna get this out of the way. Then we'll be serious. We were talking to each other in Boston accents.
I'm not gonna lie, I caught myself doing it while I was watching it.
It's fun, or just like repeating after them, like
Yeah.
echoing.
Yeah, like when his coach is like, get a water.
Yeah, get a water.
Oh my god.
Get a water. Is that Lee Chandler? Is my favorite quotes. There are two.
Okay.
There's "Where we gone? The orphanage." After something very serious has just taken place,
Yeah.
and of course he cracks wise, and I love it so much.
Yeah.
And then the second is, "What'd you do to your hand?" Like, "I cut it." "Oh, good. For a minute there, I didn't know what happened." And then it's over. And then it's so funny, and that's it. Those are the funny parts, and then the rest of it is
Yeah, and I think it's because I think they knew going into this that we needed this sort of straight guy, funny guy relationship.
Maybe. I'm also thinking that it's just it's just teenager angst and right.
That's true.
Because both of those are just him being an asshole.
Yeah.
and sort of wanting to crack that shell that is his uncle, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But that's the only way he knows how, I guess, in a way. Because and also it's just keeping in the reality of it. So this movie, and sometimes accidentally, and we'll get there, does things that bring the movie to a very grounded place.
Yeah.
That in the moment is silly, right?
Right.
I'm speaking, of course, about the gurney going into the ambulance, the stretcher.
Yeah.
Like that seems silly, but then it's like, well, number one, it was an accident. Number two, it's sort of, they left it in because it's like, well, it's almost prolonging Affleck's pain, right?
Yeah.
Lee's pain. It's prolonged because this part is taking longer than it should, and he's having to, still sit with. We'll get to it. Okay. I guess let's start with your first impression. So
Yes. So this was
the first timer.
This is my first time viewing. I really wanted to see it, especially after all the praise it got at the Oscars that year, 2015, correct? 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
15, 16.
Yeah, I remember all the praise it got, that it was, Casey Affleck, was amazing. And of course, this also, sidebar, was around the time of the whole quote-unquote scandal that was going on with him at the time.
Still might be. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about that.
They kind of disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know anything about.
But we're not going to talk about that. No. But anyway, but how all the praise he was getting, all the praise Michelle Williams was getting, and I was like, man, I might need to see this movie. And then I feel like I heard someone say like, oh well, it's really serious, and at the time, I hadn't begun to appreciate dramas because I don't know. I just didn't like dramas at that time, and I didn't want to sit through feeling sad.
Sure.
Of course, now doing this for 3 years, I can appreciate a good drama. And so I was like, it's kind of like with some of the other movies on my list. I was like, it's time. It's finally time to watch it. And it was great. Parts of the movie were hysterical, which I was like, why is this so funny?
Yeah.
This needs to stop.
I describe it as it's the funniest, saddest movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. Especially with the whole, and I'll get it out of the way too. You're blocking the doorway.
Yeah.
It's. I was like, why am I laughing already? Because they throw you in and you already feel something's off about this movie. You already,
or at least about Lee. Lee is sort of like on autopilot. Yeah.
But I loved it. I loved that it had a pseudo happy ending.
Sure, but. We'll
get there. But yeah, I loved it. So Jeremy, I'll let you do the brief synopsis because you're better at that than I am.
Okay. All right. So I'll just do the synopsis now, and then we'll get to highlights, and we'll get to key scenes. We'll get to and then overall analysis, and then okay.
Yeah.
Lee Chandler is a depressed, lonely guy who's working as a maintenance guy at an apartment complex.
Yeah.
He gets a call that his brother has died. His brother, we learn in flashbacks, has congestive heart failure, and it finally got the best of him. Mm-hmm. When going to tell his nephew that his father is dead, mm-hmm. He later learns while taking care of some bureaucratic nonsense when it comes to stuff like that, that he has been appointed to be his nephew's guardian. Lee is surprisingly very apprehensive, and now we figured he might be because we've only seen really him just being depressed and lonely, right?
Right.
We've seen him get into bar fights intentionally. We've, seen him just sulk, and we've seen him just keep to himself and
berate the tenants that he's helping.
Yeah, and in brush aside compliments and brush aside affection from others, and he is just on his own, right?
Yep.
And so of course we're like, yeah, I understand why he's a little apprehensive, but he is just determined not to do this, right?
Yeah.
And his excuse, of course, would be like, well, I live in Boston. This is Manchester by the Sea, which is the name of the town that they live in.
It's the name of the movie.
Yeah. And we get little flashbacks, not the whole thing, but we're getting there, into why he is so apprehensive and why he feels the way he does about taking care of another person, mm-hmm. Or even being around another person and having someone share time with, right?
Yeah.
Having someone to be with, basically,
Yeah.
And as it turns out, during one night of drinking, he accidentally leaves the screen open on the fireplace upstairs in his kids' rooms, or where his kids' rooms are. A log rolls out, the house catches on fire, the furnace blows, and it is engulfed in flames, and his wife got out, but they did not. And so all three of his kids died. Mm-hmm. And it is his fault, essentially. It was a horrible accident, but he blames himself, obviously. What I love... Nope. Sorry. Quit. Let me get through this. And so that is why he is so apprehensive, because he feels like he can't trust himself or feel like he can take care of anybody or anything, right?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So now we're going through... Right now, legally, he does have to take care. He is appointed as guardian. Until they fix it, he's got really to do it. Right?
Yeah, he's got no choice. Right. He has to do it.
And so now we get this dynamic between the two of them, his nephew and Lee. His nephew's name...
Patrick.
Is Patrick. Right?
They call him Patty. Patty.
He and Patrick sort of have this estranged relationship,
really.
Because I assume, and it is alluded to, but not quite explicit, but they probably haven't seen each other, spoken to each other since then,
Yeah.
since his kids died. And probably because he was distancing himself from his entire family, right?
Yeah, it seems like the last time they saw each other is when
They helped him move into
they helped him move in, and Joe made him go get furniture.
Yeah, go get furniture, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that does seem like the last time, or at least one of the last times. And so now he's having to not only remember what it's like to be in charge of someone, or at least care for someone, but he's also learning to, or remembering what it was like to even know his nephew, because there's the quote flashback in the very beginning of the film where they were really close. Mm-hmm. You could tell, right? And we'll talk more about that in a second. But it's that dynamic. It's the dynamic also of trying to hurry up and wait and lay his brother to rest, because something we're not very used to, the ground is too cold to bury his brother. And so they have to wait. He has to stay in a freezer, which is horrible to think about. And of course, Patrick breaks down and starts talking about that. And he's also been reconnected with his ex-wife through the funeral and the wake and, things like that. Mm-hmm. And then just casually running into one another on the street. Yeah. Which is one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the film.
Dude. We could do like 2 hours on just that scene. And of course,
that scene is where the title comes from for this episode. I haven't told you that yet, but it's fine. And slowly but surely, I think Lee is starting to, break out of that sort of loner, depressed shell a little bit. Yeah. At least with Patrick, right? Mm-hmm. And then there is some sort of a cathartic moment between the two of them, where everything's going to be fine, everything's going to work out. Not in the way a traditional movie would, I think. Yeah. But then the movie ends, and then it's over. So that's basically the very quick, watered down rundown of Manchester by the Sea. But okay, I want to start at the very beginning, because what I think this movie does so brilliantly, and I don't think you catch it the first time, is just how important that first scene is with them on the boat. Mm-hmm. Right?
Joe, Patrick, and Lee all on the boat together.
It's incredible. How he is planting the seed in your mind without saying so. Kenneth Lagerman, right? Whatever. The director. He is establishing that Lee and Patrick have a very close relationship, mm-hmm. right? Lee loves being an uncle. Lee is excited to spend time with his nephew. They're joking around, and the most important thing is the dialogue in the scene where he is, teasing Patrick. Yeah. And who would you choose? Me and your dad.
If you're stuck on an island and you can only have one other person there, who'd you choose?
And he's like, Dad, it's like, I think you're wrong about that, actually, because, I think it should be me. And, it implies he wants to be in Patrick's life in a very realistic and fluid way, where, right. This isn't expositional necessarily. It's just establishing a relationship that is now gone. Yeah. And establishing that Lee is a different person.
Yeah. 100%.
Completely. Yeah. Right? And so then it cuts to him doing his job.
And he's just, it's almost like this is what he does day in and day out. Shout out to our Shaun of the Dead episode. He's in a routine, yeah. And this is all he does. Yeah. Shoveling the snow, taking out the trash.
By the way, great summer movie. I really appreciate it because I like the cold, right? Oh yeah. And I like that it was snowing, and they're they're wearing jackets, and I'm just like, it's 110 outside, and so it's nice to have a
Yeah.
nice cold movie.
But then dealing with the tenants and their issues, and something also that they established very early on is he doesn't like, to use my wife's term, he doesn't like peopling,
Yeah.
but he knows he has to.
Yeah.
Like with the guy with the toilet, he's like, well, your plunger there, it's we're gonna have to replace that. And truthfully, we're supposed to replace the whole apparatus.
Yeah.
And you can tell he just doesn't want to be there with this guy.
He doesn't want to have to explain it. He's just like,
And the guy's almost forcing him to, like,
yeah, the guy's not getting it. He goes,
well, what's your professional opinion?
yeah, it is him hating being around people.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's what his job entails.
Yeah.
And of course we kind of get that to a head with the shower, which, man, I've dealt with some customers like this who just don't get it. When he's asking her about, like, well, it's not you're the one who doesn't have the leak, because if you had the leak, there'd be damage up here,
Right.
and you don't have any. So I think it's this. Let's get a plumber out to look at this, or it could be your bathtub. And then says, like, well, have you tried running the shower?
This comical misunderstanding about, well, let's just run the shower and see. And she thinks he means, you want me to shower in front of you? It's like, obviously, that's not what he means. It's so stupid. And so I think that's also important that they put that in there so you're also mad at her.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, how stupid are you?
Well, and I love that he doesn't lose his temper. He's fed up.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what you do. I'm just trying to fix the fucking shower.
Yeah.
And then that's when we get the whole, you get out of my house or I'll call the cops. And I just love his whole, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I can't. You're blocking the doorway.
Yeah, you're blocking the doorway.
And then we get him with his boss, like, I get these complaints all the time.
What a phenomenal actor he is also.
But yeah, shout out to Devs. He is awesome in Devs.
Yes, in Devs. And have you been watching Devs? Devs.
I've already seen Devs.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. And in Dune, he's also in Dune. He does the eye thing.
Yeah, that's right. He's one of mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the actor.
Phenomenal actor.
He's phenomenal. phenomenal character.
I'll pull up his name in a minute and we'll.
Yeah. But I love that we don't need to know that Lee doesn't like peopling, but they still put it in.
Yeah.
I get these complaints all the time, Lee.
Yeah.
Like, you're rude. You're standoffish. And he's like, I'm just trying to do my job.
Yeah.
He's like, I show up on time. I do my job. And I love that he kind of, like, gets back at him. Like, I do electrical work, which is illegal. And almost kind of telling him, like, look, just lay off my back.
Yeah.
Let me do my job. Just get off my back.
Right.
And it's almost like that he and his boss sort of have an understanding, because his boss was like, well, would you be willing to at least apologize? And he's like, for what? And he's like, all right, I'll talk to you.
I like he caved immediately. He was like, you're right. I shouldn't have asked.
Yeah.
That one was really funny. All right. So when he gets the phone call.
Yeah.
Right. His brother is just in the hospital. He hasn't died yet.
Yes, because he said, don't do anything. I'll be there in an hour and a half.
Right. Because that's how far away Boston is from Manchester.
Yeah.
Manchester by the Sea. Sorry. In 1989, they changed it. So.
To just Manchester?
No, to Manchester by the Sea.
Okay.
At least
So
I think.
wait,
I think that's the order it goes in.
So it's literally called Manchester by the Sea.
Yes.
Massachusetts.
I think so. Yeah.
What a mouthful.
I know.
Good God.
I know. So, I like this little detail that he dies en route. Like, he dies...
He died a half hour ago.
Right, yeah.
So the last 30 minutes of Lee's drive,
It's like, oh.
he passed away.
And that's even devastating in and of itself, and it's almost a throwaway line, know? But this is what I love about this film, is the way they do flashbacks.
Yeah.
So, when he talks to the doctor on their way down to the morgue, he mentions the other doctor.
Yeah, his main doctor.
Yeah, and we don't see her yet.
Nope.
Right? She's not there. I forgot the reason why she wasn't there, but
she was on maternity
That's
leave.
right.
She had twins.
that's right. And then we flash back to, I believe, the first time he had a cardiac episode.
Yes.
And his wife,
Elise,
played by, oh man, what is her name? She's amazing. She's in Boardwalk Empire. She's in a phenomenal
Excuse me,
film. Jesus.
Keep going.
Okay. She's in a phenomenal film about Betty Page. That was an HBO film, I believe. She was also in the remake of Life on Mars. It doesn't matter.
Anyway.
Okay. I'll get to it in a second. But, Gretchen Mol. That's her name. Anyway, she's great, by the way. And they're sort of learning about his illness. And that was it's almost like, I've seen movies like this before where the flashbacks act like memories.
Uh-huh.
It's like Lee asked about her, and then he's recalling the first time he met her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, I can't think of another film example at the moment, but you've seen films that are like that.
Well, I mean, sorry. The most immediate one I can think of is like kind of like Citizen Kane.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, and I love that with this flashback, they also established the relationship between Joe and Lee, but also the relationship that the family has with Elise. Mm-hmm. You know, because, you know, obviously it's very serious that Joe literally was just told that he potentially could only have 5 to 10 years left to live.
Right, yeah.
That most people with this diagnosis maybe only live to 50, 60 years old. Mm-hmm. And Lee and him start kind of joking with her a little bit. You know, like... Well,
so funny.
Well, what is a good disease?
Yeah.
And then she says, like... I don't remember what she says. And he's like, oh, athlete's foot? You know, and Lee and Joe are, you know, trying to add a little bit of, you know, brevity to this very serious situation. But Elise is like, okay, so we're just going to make jokes?
Do it. Can you do it? It's a comedy routine.
No, I can't. No, see, I could. It's hard for me to do a Boston.
That's okay. I practice every day.
But you know, just her like, I'll be the bad guy.
Yeah,
I'll be the bad guy then. And they're like, and you know, of course, Lee is. You could tell Lee also doesn't really like Elise. You know,
no,
because doesn't he say that then fuck off then or something?
They're like, whatever. And he's like, yeah, fuck her. And then
Joe's like, watch it.
And his dad, they both go, hey, man, watch your mouth, man. That's my wife. And it's so funny because they were just complaining about her. And it's like, I can complain about her. You can't complain.
Yeah, you're
right?
not allowed to. Yeah.
It's one of those moments that whole scene just goes from very sad.
Then really funny.
To kind of funny. To this Abbott and Costello routine.
Yeah.
You know? And it's all over. And it's brilliant, right?
Yeah.
It's not done in a chaotic way. It's done in a more grounded, real way.
Yeah,
right?
which, because, you know,
these are how people deal with bad news.
Yeah, most people need to feel something other than sadness, so they crack jokes.
Right.
Other people can, you know, they take the serious news and they're kind of like, okay, all right, you know.
You're like a stupid bitch wife. Who's an alcoholic, by the way? So let's not.
Yeah. At least is no saint.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, until she gets with Matthew Broderick.
Right. You get with Matthew Broderick, you're all good now. You know.
Hang on, I do want to talk about that just for a second. Of course, you know, we'll get there, but I was a little underwhelmed that Matthew's in one scene.
Did you know he was in it beforehand?
Not at all.
Isn't that crazy?
And then I saw his name on the cast. I was like, oh, Matthew Broderick. I love Matthew Broderick. Oh, that's it? Oh.
Well, I didn't know at all. And so when he shows up, I go, get the fuck out of here.
And then you're like, oh, he's gone now. Okay.
Like, I mean, that's fine, you know?
Which I get. You know, it's not, you know, the movie is the story of Lee and his nephew dealing with all of this. And, of course, you know, Patrick, you know, reconnecting with his mom and her new fiance. But I was just like... Give me at least one more scene.
Yeah. You wanted one more Matthew Broderick scene.
Well, give me a little bit more Broderick. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So the whole hospital sequence is awesome because you can tell that Lee, you know, we immediately see that Lee has sort of turned off emotionally.
Yeah.
You know, like when they tell him that his brother passed away, and I picked up on it. His first instinct is just to kind of put his hands in his pockets. He's just kind of like. Yeah. And he lets a little emotion out and then apologize. You know, the whole like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. You know, because it's almost like with what we learn later on of what happens with his kids, he tries not to show any emotion.
Yeah, it's almost like it completely broke him, of course.
Yeah, understandably.
Understandably. And I think, and it's hard to tell where that timeline is for me. For when his brother gets his diagnosis and when his kids die.
Yeah, well, and we've talked about this before. Some movies I like it that we're not told.
Yeah.
Year, time, and this movie I could get that, but we do see the passage of time because we hear about.
You could argue maybe it's in order, right?
Well, and that's what I was kind of explaining to Ashley, how the flashbacks are happening chronologically.
Yeah.
But then we're catching up in present,
right?
And it's
that's chronological. So I'm thinking that he got the diagnosis before his kids died.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think so.
And I think it explains why he's not dead yet. Is his brother, right?
Yeah.
His brother. Of course, we'll get to the police station, but when because I was thinking about that the whole time. I go, when I saw it the first time, I go, why didn't he try again? As horrible as that sounds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was thinking it's because he remembers probably his brother is dying, right?
Right.
And you could argue he doesn't want to put his dad through that, also.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
anyway.
So the whole hospital sequence is it's so well, I'm going to use this term, choreographed, with every, and how it's shot,
The blocking is really good.
The blocking is amazing, and everyone is just, and you could tell again Lee is trying to show no emotion. We gotta bring in the boat. We gotta cancel the website. Has anyone told Patrick yet? No. Okay, I'll go get him.
I'll tell Patrick. Right.
Yeah.
And of course, when we meet Patrick at hockey practice, I like that they're establishing, because we don't know yet. They're establishing the sort of the mythos that is Lee Chandler.
Oh, because he calls the vice principal.
Yeah.
And he hangs up, and the secretary's like, "Who was that?" And he was like, "It was Lee Chandler."
Yeah, it's like, you're not going to believe it.
She's like, the Lee Chandler. And so I started to suspect that maybe he was just famous in Manchester, which, technically he is. But I was thinking maybe like sport,
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. No, was not expecting the real reason why he's famous.
And then it even happens at the hockey practice, because they're like, oh, that's his...
Oh, yeah, because the coach... and shout out to that actor who plays the coach.
Oh, he's great, too.
He was in Rocket Man, and he voices the adult version of Hercules in Hercules.
Is that right?
Yeah, because I remember when Ashley and I saw Rocket Man, I was like, I know that voice.
Yeah.
Like, who is that? And then I looked, I was like, oh my God, it's Hercules.
Yeah, that's Hercules.
And so as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh,
yeah. Get it down. I didn't know that.
But yeah, he does the same thing, because they're like, Coach, that's Lee Chandler.
That's his Uncle Lee. It's like, the Lee Chandler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's when he decides to kind of go over.
Right, yeah. Because it's like, whoa.
I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But, and I love that as soon as Patrick sees him, he doesn't immediately know that something's wrong, but he knows that at least his dad is back in the hospital.
Well, and we don't hear it, which I also really like.
Mm-hmm.
And then even when the coach goes over there, we're still all the way back.
Shout out to me being a heathen and watching movies with subtitles on.
Oh.
The subtitles say his father just passed away.
Oh, interesting.
But you can't hear it.
Yeah.
But which is because then the coach even says something. But I do love what Patrick says to himself as soon as he sees Lee. Fuck me.
Yeah.
Because he knows his dad's at least back in the hospital.
Yeah.
And kind of what you're saying at the top of the show is that Lee and Patrick have this sort of estranged relationship now.
It's almost like in Patrick's eyes, Lee abandoned him. Right?
Yeah.
You could argue that. And so, that reaction is, you're right. It's both, shit, my dad's in trouble, and God damn it, it's Uncle Lee.
Lee's here. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then, then we get the rest of this movie through this lens of uncle and nephew trying to just kind of figure out
right, and dealing with their grief in their own special ways, right?
Patrick's is to call over friends.
Yeah.
Lee is to drink alone in the guest room.
Of course.
Which I know you haven't seen it, even though I jokingly said I was going to make you watch it. His girlfriend, Susie, plays the little girl in Moonrise Kingdom.
Oh, is that right?
So she's the girl that says the line I told you about, which I'm not going to repeat here.
Right.
If you've seen Moonrise Kingdom, you'll know.
Which girlfriend is she? Is she the...
She's the first one we meet.
Okay, so
not
she's
the blonde one.
Okay, so she's the no fun one. She is like... she's no fun at all. I like the band one better.
Well, and I love that that's how Lee... I just didn't like how, Lee's trying to make funeral arrangements, and she's like, does Patrick really need to be here for that? I was like...
Yeah, that's why she's no fun.
And I love that that's what Lee tells... Because, Patrick's like, can Susie come over? And he's like, which one was that one again?
Yeah.
No. No.
See, and that's how I feel.
He's like, I like the other one more.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if anyone out there has seen Moonrise Kingdom, you know which line I'm referring to. In my opinion, very infamous line of Moonrise Kingdom.
Yikes, yeah. You told me. Now I'll never forget it.
Yeah. I'll never forget it.
Now, what's interesting is the idea, which is probably more important, and we can discuss it, since I really haven't thought about it very much, the idea that he has two girlfriends.
Yeah. Well, and I love that. I love that Patrick is always like, well, if it comes up,
yeah,
she slept downstairs.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay.
Oh,
like, you don't know about Susie if it comes up. And he's just like, okay.
Yeah, so now not only is he having to, have his nephew now he's got to keep track of all this shit. And all.
I know. and I love that Lee is trying, but he's just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is interesting that he does have two girlfriends.
Yeah.
But then again, I guess it is, very, high school.
Maybe.
He's on the hockey team. He's got two girlfriends.
He's in a band.
Well, and I love that when his fangirls show up, and he's like, those your girlfriends too? They wish.
Ugh, so gross.
Which probably tells me that they're maybe younger than him.
Yeah, maybe.
And so he's like, nah.
Nah, man.
But
still gross.
It's still gross.
Gross, man. Like, have some humility.
Well, and when we wrap up this episode, I'm going to tell you the band girlfriend, the least favorite line that she said that actually grossed me out.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think you can maybe pick up. It's the belt buckle scene.
Oh yeah. That one was.
I was just like, huh.
Like, you're so young. Gross.
Please stop.
Yeah. So okay. Where are we? We are. Let's go ahead and get to the lawyer's office.
Yes.
By the way, this isn't important. This has nothing to do with the movie necessarily.
Okay.
I don't know why I felt this way at the time.
Okay.
But the lawyer's hair was distracting me.
He's a cool hip lawyer.
It was a very youthful haircut that he had.
That's what I'm saying. He's a cool hip lawyer.
I know, yeah, and I get that. It was distracting me the first time I saw it, and this go around I was like, oh, that's right. His hair. And listen, I don't know if other people feel this way. If other people feel this way, please let me know. But I felt like he had sort of like a pop punk haircut.
I would say more like Flock of Seagulls.
And he is a lawyer. So let me know if you felt the same way. Let's get back to the lawyer scene.
Yeah. So this is where we learn that Joe has made Lee his legal guardian. And that, because, that's when, as you said at the top of the show, Lee's like, well, I can't be his legal guardian. Yeah, I live in Boston. And the lawyer's like, well, it was Joe's assumption that you would move here. And I feel bad for the lawyer because Joe did sort of leave him high and dry.
Well, yeah, and pulled the rug under.
Joe didn't talk to you about any of this?
And because obviously the assumption is he knew Lee would say no, right?
Yeah.
In this way, he assures that Lee at least can't say no, at least for now.
Right. Until he, probably. I feel like Joe knew that maybe Lee would figure out some way to maybe get out of it, but. But then this is also where we get the amazing flashbacks of what happens with Lee's kid. What happened
that night, that night. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, remind me, because we get the scene with him coming home from work and his wife, I forgot her name. Randy is sick. And it's daytime. Like, it's like, you know what I'm talking about? We get that flashback beforehand. I know that, but...
I think that's right after the establishing shot of them being on the boat together. Because she says, like, how was fishing? And he was like, oh, Patrick caught, this big,
Yeah.
And I think it's more to set up his kids.
Well, yeah, he has 3 kids. Yeah.
Well, not just three, a baby and 2... I would say like 7-year-olds.
I would say less. Yeah.
Toddlers. Pretty
Almost.
much.
I mean, they're older than that a little bit. Not by much.
Yeah, but, so we get this other scene of him partying with his friends and Joe.
Yeah.
But they're being too loud. I know what that's like. I grew up around that.
Yeah.
Like, Mom, if you're listening, I'm not trying to, say anything bad, but...
Too late.
But growing up, like... My parents would hang out in the garage with their friends and, they would party.
Right, of course.
But then usually right around this time, like in the movie, around 2 a.m., they'd call it quits. Everyone would leave. And that would be it. But Randy is who shuts it down.
Yeah.
Because she's trying to sleep and makes Lee kick everyone out. Let's see, this is where it confused me for a second until the police scene is when then we see Lee walking to the store.
Yes.
I thought it was a completely different night.
Oh, okay.
I just assumed that he was like, I'll walk down to the store.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating that that we learn all of the details just with dialogue.
Yeah.
Right? And I really like that because before I started the movie, I could have swore that we saw that log leave the fireplace. Could have sworn. And I was like, he was just talking about it. I guess I just remembered, I'm picturing it in my mind when he's talking about it, right?
Well, it's so vivid, too.
You're right. But, I was surprised, that I was like, wait, like, when are we going to see it happen? It was just,
anyway. Well, and I love that when they reveal to us and Lee, there's no dialogue. We just hear music.
Yeah.
All we hear really is Randy screaming, my kids are in there.
Yeah.
But it's just silent.
Yeah.
Even when he's talking to the fire department and the cops outside of his home, we don't hear what he's saying. We don't hear anything again until he's at the police station. Mm-hmm. That's when we hear what happened, that after he kicked everyone out, checked on the kids, but they
freezing up there,
so he put a couple of logs on the fire, and still feeling a little buzzed, and so wanted to keep drinking just a little bit, and then halfway walking to the convenience store, he had the thought, Dad, put the screen up. No, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine. I'm not going to be gone that long.
Yeah, because he said it's 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back?
I think 20.
20. So 40 minutes in total that he would have been gone. But, as we've learned in real life situations, a lot can happen in 40 minutes. And as you said, a log rolled out, caught the house on fire, which got to the furnace, which made the furnace explode. And well, no, they were able to get Randy out before the furnace exploded, but then the furnace exploded and they couldn't go back in.
Right.
And you can tell as Lee's recounting this to the officers that he is still trying to process what the hell just happened.
Yeah.
And also, holy shit, I'm going to jail.
I think he just figured, but I think in that moment he's it doesn't matter if I go to jail, which is why he mentioned the cocaine, because he goes, who cares? Like, all my kids are dead, right?
Yeah.
Like, I killed my kids, basically.
And the cops, they tell him it's not his fault. It was a simple accident. We don't send anyone to prison for accidents. And then Lee Now, I'd seen this scene.
Okay.
Because I remember one time I was like scrolling through, I want to say like Instagram. And I was like on the For You page, you know, and it came up and I was like, what the fuck movie is this?
Yeah.
Because they, you know, there's this, you know, Instagram page that shares, you know, movie scenes. I was like, what movie is this?
Yeah.
And so when I saw it, I was like, oh. And Lee, in the middle of a police station with a lot of cops, tries to kill himself.
Yeah.
By pulling a cop's gun out of his holster, which I don't know what it's like in Massachusetts, but you know, here I know it's a felony to steal a cop's weapon.
Yeah. They'll probably just let that go.
Yeah, because he was probably under duress, and so tries to kill himself, and they tackle him to the ground.
Yeah.
Wrestle the gun out of his hand, and then that's where we kind of snap back to Lee at the lawyer's office, and he finally just kind of, you know, tells the lawyer, "Thank you for your time," and that's when we get your favorite line.
Where we go in the office?
Shut up.
Yeah.
Because Lee is just still so floored by this revelation that his brother would trust him with Patrick.
Yeah.
And as we learn throughout the movie, going after this, is that Lee, one, doesn't feel like he has earned forgiveness.
Well, yeah.
And two, he genuinely feels like he cannot care for anyone else. Mm-hmm. That he, as you said, he's broken.
Yeah.
That he cannot do it. Which is why he tries so hard. Like with George. You want to be his guardian?
Oh, that's so funny.
Like,
yeah.
And George is like,
trying to get rid of a couple of kids, actually.
trying to get rid. You know, and it's heartbreaking. Not necessarily for Patrick, but to watch Lee almost torment himself. Mm-hmm. Well, I say not almost. He is tormenting himself.
Yeah. It's almost like when the lawyer reads off that he's the guardian, it's almost like not that Chandler, not Chandler, that's his name. Joe. When Joe is granting him guardianship, it's almost like he's forgiving or telling Lee it's okay, you know? Yep. Or telling Lee like,
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
right?
You know, like it's okay.
Like yes, it was awful, but you're fine. Like it's gonna be okay. You can do this.
I trust you.
I trust you, and I think that's, you're right, is one of the things that's hitting Lee the hardest is like, I can't be trusted. Like, I don't know why someone would ever think that about
Well,
me.
and the movie does a great job of kind of doubling down on this point after his second bar fight. Mm-hmm. You know, because then, you know, when he tells Patrick, and like, you know, I can't be your guardian.
Yeah.
Patrick's like, what about my mom? And that's something that that's the only thing Lee is uncomfortable with.
Right. Like,
no. You're not going to your mom.
Well, and then there's that great flashback of her like bottomless on the couch after drinking
Yourself to sleep.
Yeah. And that so by the way, sidebar. I like that in this movie they're painting Manchester as sort of a blue collar place. Mm-hmm. It's not.
Really?
It's like super affluent and ritzy, and so it's funny that we're only being shown
this one particular family
this one like side of this town, which is, you know, a very rich part of Massachusetts.
Well, I mean, and we kind of get that with, you know, when Lee finally agrees to let Patrick and his mom kind of
you're right,
see each other, because they live in a nicer
they do,
a nice house, a nicer area,
and she's dressed like a Mennonite, like she's dressed like compared to
true.
what she was, you know. Now she's like a Mormon, and and
I love that Patrick refers to Matthew Broderick's character as he's very Christian.
Yeah, that made me laugh too.
And then I'm sure you like this, where Lee's like, well, well, we're Christian.
Yeah.
Catholics are Christian. And he's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I did like that. But within this sort of very awkward, sort of light scene of him being reconnected with his mom, then of course which is what this movie is good at, is pulling the rug out from under you again by that email he gets.
Yeah, from Matthew Broderick, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I might need your help with that. Because, he'd been emailing his mom, as it's revealed. And then after the dinner, Matthew Broderick's character emails him and says, hey, we were so happy to have you, but, your mom's going to need a little bit more time.
Yeah.
So from now on, email me.
Yeah.
So was it because, that was just too hard for her?
I don't know. It's almost like I thought of it as, it could be a few things, but I thought maybe, Matthew Broderick's character is sort of blaming Patrick for her, her drinking or, her substance abuse.
Maybe.
If she hangs around him more, she'll go back to her old ways, maybe, or maybe you're right. Maybe it's just it's really hitting her really hard and all this stuff. So just maybe not, it might not have been malicious, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to be, but it is sort of heartbreaking because for Patrick anyway, this was a way to reconnect with his mom, and he's now not able to do that.
Yes, yeah, because the whole time that we hear from Lee, we hear nothing but bad things about his mom.
Right.
At least she's not in a mental institution. Because and I love that Lee tries after he picks him up. Mm-hmm. Lee tries to be a little bit more she's not drinking.
Yeah.
She's not in a mental institution.
Yeah.
But you could tell that Lee is still very hesitant with her. But yeah, I don't think it was malicious.
Not necessarily. I think he's trying to look out for his wife and
it also makes sense what you said, that maybe Matthew Broderick blames Patrick for it because Elise is trying, because she's like, I want this to feel like it's your home too, and excuses herself from the table. And then shortly after, he gets up and he's like, yeah, let me see what she's doing in there.
Yeah.
And so,
I don't know if it's blame. I didn't mean blaming as it's his fault. I'm blaming she's made associations between her drinking days and him, right?
Right.
And so, that's what I mean by that.
That makes sense though, but so can we talk about Randy and Lee running into each other?
Of course, that's exactly where I wanted to go next.
Thank God. Oh my God, dude, you want to talk about just a devastating scene, and not devastating in the sense of it's just because she clearly has forgiven him for everything that's happened, and she's trying to make amends with him. Because, and it's understandable, since he was directly responsible for their kid's death, she blamed him.
Yeah, and of course what I like about this also is we didn't see the aftermath of that in terms of their marriage. We didn't see the downfall of the marriage. We didn't see any of that. It's sort of like in a marriage story. You see the good times, and then it's over, right? Yeah. There's no in between. We don't get to see any of that. Of course, in that movie, that's the point. But but in this case, it's sort of we're getting some of this dialogue that's implying she was awful to him. She said some horrible things, rightly so.
Yep.
And she obviously blamed him for this, and that's why they're no longer together. But this scene is, if you want to break it down, it is someone forgiving someone and the other refusing the forgiveness. Don't let me off the hook, right? Mm-hmm. He is hell-bent on being guilty. And you understand.
Yeah.
It's
something like that is hard to forgive yourself for.
And what this movie does so beautifully is not doing the cheesy thing. Mm-hmm. My favorite line in this whole movie is, "I can't beat it. I'm sorry." Right? Mm-hmm. It is he could try, but honestly, I think deep down he doesn't want to. He wants to live with it. This is his punishment, right?
Yeah.
But even if he would, I think that he wouldn't be able to anyway.
Yeah, and I love that that in a testament to fantastic writing, how she interrupts herself, like you can't, you just, honey, you can't do, and they're and they're just, it's so good and so fast paced because Lee's trying to make her also like, don't say that about yourself.
Right.
I deserved it.
Yeah.
You did nothing wrong. It was all me.
Yeah.
And because I think it's also because he doesn't want her to going around thinking that he's like this because of her.
Right. Exactly.
And, and I love what she says to him, like, honey, you just can't die.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not. And I believe that. I think, in the moment when we have that flashback, he wanted to die.
Of course.
Hence why he tried to commit suicide. But I think at this point, it's more, this is my punishment, and I'm going, like you said, and I'm just going to live. I'm not going to die. And it's heartbreaking because you can tell that Randy really wants them to be in each other's lives again, at least maybe so she can maybe keep an eye on him,
or she's just desperate for him to be okay.
That's why she offers, like, well, can we go to lunch?
Yeah.
And and the part that got me is when she tells him that she loves him.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, I know I probably shouldn't say that, but I do. And I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
And you could tell a part of him wanted to hear it, but the other part's like, don't say that. Don't say that to me.
I think this moment and the moment where he finds out that she's pregnant, right, beforehand.
Yeah.
Because now she'd already had the baby and it's in the trunk.
Yeah. Dylan, I think.
Yeah. It's, oof.
Yeah.
And I think seeing her with this kid and, it's sort of like, I don't want to get in the middle of any of this.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, she's happy again.
She's happy without me.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's such and it's a very quick scene too.
It's so fast.
But it's just so devastating. And then,
movie could have ended right there.
Lee deals with it the only way he knows how. Goes to a bar. One little accident, guy just bumps into him. It just escalates.
Yeah.
But then what I love is we finally see Lee show some sort of emotion other than anger. When he breaks down at George's house.
Yeah.
And it's because what he's feeling. He's feeling guilt. He's feeling grief over his brother.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, he's sort of he's weighed down by the responsibility, this newfound responsibility, right? On top of the guilt, on top of the grief, right? And this is why this movie is so good, because say what you want about Affleck, but his performance in this is amazing.
It's so hard to believe that he's Ben Affleck's younger brother.
It's an Oscar well earned.
I know. And shout out to our Ghost Story episode, man. Casey, I love Casey. Even his little cameo in American Pie 1 and 2. I think he's a great actor. Maybe he's had some controversy, but you know what? You really see it, especially with this movie, how he is just so committed to playing this character who just doesn't feel like he's earned forgiveness.
Right.
And what I meant by at the top of the show, that the movie has somewhat of a happy ending, is he's able to relinquish his guardianship to George, but because for a moment he is, for most of the movie he's entertaining the idea, like, all right, I'll do it, I'll be his guardian, but I'm not living here.
Right.
And I think it's because he doesn't want to be there.
Right, of course not.
That's where his kids died.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be there.
Right.
But as Patrick makes it so abundantly clear, is that, well, I can't just uproot my life.
Right.
I have a life here.
Yeah.
I have a band. I have hockey. I have 2 girlfriends. I can't just You know, and then of course the biggest point of contention with them is Joe's boat. Mm-hmm. You know, Dad's boat's here. I just can't. And I love that Lee finally understands, like, okay, Patrick's life is here. I can't just uproot his life.
Right.
And he goes to George, and George agrees to adopt Patrick, at least until he's 18. They're going to put up the house for rent. And then when Patrick's 21, he can choose what he wants with it.
Yeah.
I believe. And then Lee's going to live in Charleston. Mm-hmm. That way he's only 30 minutes away.
Yeah, it's closer.
Yeah. And that way, if Patrick needs him, he can get to him quickly.
Yeah.
And you're right. And, you know, the movie ends with this. Everything's going to work out.
Everything's going to be fine, but again, not in the way you expected.
Yeah.
I think a lesser movie would have, first off, he would have been like, you're right, I should let this go. I've done my time. I've seen the error of my blah blah blah, all that shit.
Right.
You know, he also would have been like, you know what, I'm ready to be a guardian.
Yeah.
I can do this again. I can be a father figure to Patrick, blah blah blah, all that shit. But this movie is so brilliant because he can't beat this guilt.
Nope.
And yes, he agreed to do it, but mostly on his terms. Like, he needs to be comfortable, right?
Yeah.
He is still so uncomfortable with the idea of all of this that just moving a town over.
Well, and especially
you know?
also, you know, living in his dead brother's house.
Oh, I know. There's no way he was going to do that either. You know what I mean?
You know, and we kind of get that with him punching out the window.
Yeah.
You know, because he'd been staying in the guest room.
Yeah.
And Patrick's like, you're not going to be in Dad's? And he's like, do you want me in Dad's room? And begrudgingly moves into Joe's room, but it just can't overcome his grief. Mm-hmm. And so he punches the window.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, that's when he hangs up on Elise, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also and we don't see it full on, which again I love, is he has the pictures of his 3 kids there.
Yes. Oh, yes. I'm glad you brought that up. I love that. No, the movie shows us what his kids look like.
Well, yeah.
But we never see the pictures.
Not necessarily. No, I think the closest we get is when Patrick picks one up.
But we still don't actually see it, though.
Again, the acting is so good, and he's so young. He's very good.
Yeah.
That he looks at it and kind of goes, oh, man. You know, sort of like, oof.
Yeah.
Because everywhere he goes, he has those 3 pictures. Mm-hmm. Right? And when he's packing up the Boston house, the way he carefully, meticulously folds those pictures into that blanket and lightly puts them in the box, and they're precious to him, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, right?
Absolutely.
You know, that's one of those key details in this film that is just tremendous, and that really brings an extra layer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and then of course, you know, we get somewhat of a semblance that maybe Lee's gonna open up a little bit more when he's fixing that guy's water heater. Mm-hmm. You know, and actually making a little bit more casual conversation.
Yeah.
Still kind of, he's got his guard up, but he's making more conversation. Right. You know, like, was your dad play chess? You're like, yeah, he was awesome. He was, you know, best chess player I ever knew. Yeah, he was really good. You know, and you could tell that Lee is also gonna be okay too. You know, and it's just
eventually, and maybe you know, not in the way you expect. He's not like just gonna magically get over it.
Yeah, right. Which our listener Zach should know. You hate those kinds of 180s.
Hate it so much, which is why this movie is so great and right up my alley, right? Because it's the thing, and Zach would agree with me on this, that's the thing we love about it, is that he's not fixed, right? There's no magic cure. There's nothing Remy could say to him would fix him in that moment. Nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And you know, the fact that with that interaction in particular, you know, he is just wanting to end the conversation so bad. Yeah. You know, he just like, no, it's fine. It's not your fault. You know, can we go? You know, can I go? because he doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to be let off the hook. He doesn't want anybody to say it's okay. He doesn't want anybody to say it's not your fault.
Yeah.
And as we've been saying, it's his punishment. This is, and I think you're right that living is his punishment, which is why he never tried again. Right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it's and I love how it ends. Him and Patrick on the boat fishing. Full circle.
Yeah.
Perfect bookend.
Yeah.
The movie ended where it began.
Right.
Uncle and nephew fishing together, sharing a moment.
Yeah.
And nothing needs to be said. Again, you can see them talking, but we don't need to hear what they're saying. We just need to know as the audience, things are going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I love that. After the movie was over, I hit pause and I looked at Ashley and I was just like, whoa. Like, yeah, I was like, man. And I love it. I definitely, for sure, it's partly the reason why I bought most of the movies on my list, so I could rewatch them.
Yeah.
For sure, I will rewatch this one.
Yeah, of course.
So, Jeremy, are you ready to wrap up?
I am ready to wrap up. I will say, it began here and it ended in Ghost Story. Casey Affleck is shredded, right?
Oh, 100%.
Unnecessarily so, I would say.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with this character, nor did it in A Ghost Story. We talked about it then.
Well, he's got a little bit of a dad bod in this one.
Kind of, but he's getting it. He's getting there.
He's getting for a Ghost Story where he's just like...
You could see the muscle starting. And then you get to A Ghost Story and he's just all muscle.
Yeah, he's just... Well, yeah, because he had to carry around that sheet the entire movie.
Had to carry the sheet. Got to be in good shape for that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I know I've said this to a few other episodes we've done, but, man, I don't think I've ever seen a movie like this, nor I don't think will I ever see another movie like this.
Yeah.
But...
It's another one of those what I call montage of moments movies.
Yeah.
Where, like... Let's see if I can think of it. Like Lady Bird's Like This, number one.
Oh, hey, that's on the shelf.
There's lots of movies like this, and more modern, I would say, where it is, yes, there is a narrative, yes, there's a plot, yes, there's a linear line.
Right.
But because it's not a story, it's not like a heist movie or a mystery or anything like that, you don't need a fluid line. You can do here, and here, right? And that's what I mean by montage of moments. Days could go by in between, right? And it's okay.
Yeah,
right?
Well, yeah, and we get that. We get months pass by.
And so, like, that's what I mean by that. And I like movies like that. Yeah. Right? Montage of moments. That's what I call it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, buddy. Well, I'm glad you... I mean, I had a feeling you weren't going to say, like, no, I don't want to do that. But, yeah, man, I'm glad you decided that you were cool with this one.
Of course.
So, all right, so what are we going to talk about next week?
You already know. You guys have to... It's not my pick.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, what are we going to do for your next one?
Oh, my next pick? Oh, good question. Well, hold on. I didn't think about it because I thought... Well,
Jeremy decides.
Yeah, you do that.
I got to give y'all a little tease. So, I don't know in the order this will come out. I'm hoping that maybe we can keep doing the order like we've always done. My pick, then Jeremy's, and we just go back and forth. But I was asked to make a special request for a future episode that is... might be happening later this week. I don't know. We'll see. But essentially, next week's episode may be Uncut Gems with a special guest, but we'll see. Jeremy is also going to be going out of town again.
Yeah.
So we'll when it gets a little closer, we'll cross that bridge. Because we gotta, if we need to do over Riverside again, we can do that.
Sure.
We'll see. So, what's going to be your next movie, Jeremy?
My next pick. Okay. So, let's do this. We'll do that as 1, That is 2. And that is 3. 1, 2, or 3.
I'm gonna go middle, and I'm gonna go 2.
2? Okay. In that case, next week or whenever, my next pick will be Seven Samurai.
Fuck yes.
Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. I've never seen it. This is so.
And this is a first because I have. It was one of the first few Criterion movies I really, really wanted once I started really diving into Criterion. Because as many listeners, or who doesn't know, I am a big fan of Star Wars, and Kurosawa was a huge influence on George Lucas. And Seven Samurai, not necessarily, but Kurosawa as a whole was a big influence on Star Wars. Yeah. And so as soon as I learned that, I was like, well, I got to check out this movie, Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
And it blew me away. 3.5 hours of just pure, unadulterated, just, it's...
Haley's going to be so mad. It's 3.5 hours.
Like, Rashomon, awesome.
Yeah, Rashomon's amazing.
Rashomon was amazing. Mm-hmm. Dude, I cannot wait to talk about Seven Samurai.
I mean, just get ready for, I think you have High and Low on your scale. Yeah, that's going to be great.
Yeah. And Ikuru as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I have Ikuru on mine.
Dude, a lot of Kurosawa.
Do you want to know what 1 and 3 were?
Sure.
1 was A Celebration.
Oh, fuck. Damn it.
And 3 was Phantom Carriage. So, I know, Phantom Carriage is going to be an interesting one.
That'll be an interesting one, but damn it. I've been so ready to watch The Celebration.
I know it.
But you know what? It's all good. I love Seven Samurai. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So, again, everyone, I don't know after this episode when the order will be. Either it will be Uncut Gems or Seven Samurai. Or if maybe we're able to record them, we can then release them in the correct order.
Sure.
But we'll cross the logistics of that because our guest is making this a little difficult. Because going out of town, we usually know how to handle that really well.
Usually, yeah.
But it's the guest, our potential guest, that is making this a little difficult.
Way to go.
But anyway, well, we hope everyone enjoyed Manchester by the Sea, and we will see you next time.